Okay, good morning, everybody. Hope you all had great holidays and happy New Year to everybody, and hopefully it will be a good year for everybody. So moving on this morning, we have anybody new joining us today? Anybody new? Going once, going twice? Okay, yeah, all righty. Well, good morning, everybody. So first thing off, I want to again thank our sponsors, Care First Arizona, Karen Ziegler Consulting, Valley Telecom, Khajiit, and Triad. And we're hoping that some of you will also step up to do that this year. So moving on, the meeting this morning, we have a lot of things to talk about. So I want to just jump into the agenda. So first of all, our next meetings. So we will be meeting on January the 11th. On January the 18th, if you saw my email, we are going to be doing a digital equity plan draft proposal study session with the broadband office, and we'll talk about that a little bit more on the 18th. And so that's going to be in lieu of our regular meeting format that we're going to be focused on that. And it's going to be an extended meeting. It'll be 2 hours. That's a very long plan, and you'll hear more about that in just a couple of minutes. But I encourage you, you'll get another email and a meeting invite from me probably today or tomorrow at the latest, and encourage you all to attend. It's a pretty important session for you. And then on the 25th, we are not going to be meeting because the Internet for All Summit, which you'll also hear more about later, is on January 23 and 24. And we hope that you'll all be there. And by that time, you might be tired of hearing about it. So we're going to not meet on the 25th. So that's kind of our schedule coming up for the rest of the month. And with that, I'm going to jump into our updates on from the broadband office. And Aaron, I think you're kind of taking the lead on that. You or Perla. I don't know if Perla's even on the call today, but Aaron, I think you're taking the lead on that, or you, Perla, or you, or Aaron, or both.
Yep, I'll do the updates today, Steve. Thank you. So,
Okay.
hi everyone. Just in case you don't know who I am yet, I'm Erin Lorandos. I'm the Digital Equity Program Manager with the Arizona Commerce Authority, and I'm happy to provide a couple of updates from the broadband office this morning. First of all, I just want to acknowledge the hard work that the broadband office team has done to get all of the BEAD initial proposals in. Those were in before the end of last year. You may have seen a flurry of articles being posted from various sources that every single state had provided the necessary information back to NTIA for the BEAD proposals. So that's a great win for us. And then early this year, on the 2nd, in fact, we posted the draft version of our digital equity plan to our website, which I'm about to drop a link. I'm sure you have seen it in Steve's emails as well. But this is the other half of the funding that's coming down, focused on digital equity. We have to write a plan similar to the BEAD proposal for the digital equity side of things. And so this is the first draft of that. This plan will be up for public comment for 30 days. So you have through the 1st of February to provide feedback on this document. And as Steve mentioned, it is long. So make yourself a cup of tea and, settle in. It's a good read though. So I hope you enjoy it. And similar to how the feedback worked for the BEAD proposals, there is a feedback form on that website that I just dropped. You can also email us directly at broadband@azcommerce.com with feedback. And then, same as with the BEAD proposal, we take a look at all of those comments and make changes as necessary to the final document before it gets submitted back to NTIA. And so the process for that is kind of like what you heard about with BEAD. We send it back to them, and it goes through what they call a curing process for 45 days, just to kind of let it set and marinate and get everybody give everybody time to get it in, and then the final submission is near the end of March. So we'll keep rolling with that. Are there any questions about the DE plan before I go on to other updates? Okay.
So Aaron, I know it's a long document. Can you give us just a little snippet about kind of what all is included in the plan?
Sure. So what this plan aims to do is look at the covered populations that Congress and NTIA defined. And so those are, folks living in low income households, older individuals, incarcerated individuals, veterans, individuals with disabilities, individuals with language barriers, and racial or ethnic minorities, which for our purposes here in the state, we had to include tribal members in that group, even though we understand that that's not really the definition, but we wanted to be able to fit that large portion of our community into the plan, and also rural inhabitants. And so all of those folks face unique challenges when trying
I thought
to
Jamie
bridge.
went back down.
I'm sorry?
Kirk, that's Kirk. He's
Just talking. Okay, other work going on, totally understandable. So those folks, who find themselves in those groups, have historically and continue to have additional barriers when trying to, bridge the digital divide. And so it really speaks directly to solutions for those individuals, but it is meant to, to cover all Arizonans as well. And so how the plan is laid out, there's a lot of information diving into the unique challenges that those groups face, and also just information about Arizona as a whole. And then we go into our proposed strategies and objectives for addressing those needs over the course of the next few years. So there's a section on goals and objectives with various actionable steps that we plan to take to address these issues. And then also the big part is also a list of organizations and businesses, etc., nonprofits, everybody in the state who also do this work. And so it's called an asset inventory. And so it really goes into the details about how we want to, hopefully work with these organizations. So, no one group is going to solve all of these problems. We need to work together. And so it also creates a directory effectively of organizations across the state that are also doing this work. That part lays the groundwork for the next phase of this. Once the DE plan gets approved, we find out as a state how much funding we're going to get in the digital equity capacity grant section. And so this is funding that will come directly to the state that we as the administering entity will be able to subgrant out to applicants. And so as we get closer to that part of the process, more information will be shared about what our grant process will look like. But this, the goals and everything are written with the idea that other organizations in the state are going to be applying for that capacity funding and working together with us to accomplish these goals. And then let's see, what else is in there? Well, there's 200 pages worth of a lot of other things, but I think those are the big sections to kind of be mindful of at this point. It's a really beautifully laid out plan. We worked really hard on this. DEI, the Digital Equity Institute, was our contractor that helped us do a lot of the research and writing of this, as well as a number of other very important organizations across the state. The state library helped us out a ton. You'll see the list of all the folks who have already had huge hands in creating parts of this. But the point of the public comment, of course, is to make sure that we dotted all our T's, crossed all our I's, made every consideration that you feel we should make. And so, as individuals in the state or representative of organizations who are also doing this work, we hope that you read it with that lens and let us know if there's anything that we need to beef up, or that you'd like to make comments on, or you have ideas about how we could do better. So so that study session that Steve mentioned on the 18th, we'll dive into some of those parts, but it would be really great if you do plan to attend that to have read it ahead of time so that we can have a constructive conversation during that. I definitely don't just want to, read it during that time. I want, it to be a conversation. So take some time and take a look at it before then, and we can dive into it at that point. And of course, you can make public comment at any time over the course of this 30 days. You don't have to wait for that study session to have happened. In fact, we've already had a couple of comments roll in. So that's great to see. And then the only other update that I have, as Steve mentioned, the Internet for All Summit is coming up later this month. That's the 23rd and 24th. It is being held in person at the Mesa Convention Center up here in the Valley. And we do ask that you register for it. It is a free event, but we just need to know, for lunches and space and all that sort of thing, who to expect. So I'm dropping the link to the Eventbrite registration page here. And just a note, when you do go to register, you have to register for day 1 and day 2 as like separate registrations. It's a little I don't know if it's complicated, but we've noticed that a lot of people are registering for the first day and not as many for the second. So we're wondering if people think they've registered for the whole thing. So that's why I'm bringing it up. So if you do intend to come both Tuesday and Wednesday that week, you'll go through the registration process twice, once for Tuesday and once for Wednesday to get yourself on that list. Okay.
So before you go on, excuse me, that I did include in in my email the link, and that page, the page, the ACA page, does have the agenda for those 2 days. And in particular, if I'm not mistaken, that the second day in particular is focused more on the digital equity side. Day 1 is more on broadband side. Am I correct about that?
Yes, there are some not necessarily it's not necessarily like for one group versus another on either day. There are definitely going to be some digital equity pieces throughout the whole thing, and probably some, conversations around the infrastructure side of things around the whole thing. But I think generally that is a good comment. We do have a lot of really wonderful community spotlights throughout the event as well, which highlight different groups and organizations that are doing some work here in the state that we feel is a really wonderful, and those kind of bridge that as well. So come for both days for sure. Although I totally understand that, with travel and being in the Valley and all of that, that might be a consideration. But you can take a look at the agenda and make that decision. The governor will be there on day 1, as well as the mayor of Mesa, and also Sandra Watson from ACA, of course. So we'll have a really good group of people. I'm really looking forward to it. Any
And
other questions about that?
Well, yes, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
That's
I
okay.
also just wanted to say that, we've been meeting virtually for years, and now's an opportunity to meet people and face to face and to have a conversation and get to know each other personally. So I really encourage you all to attend, if for no other reason, to connect with people in person.
Agreed. I was just having a conversation with one of the panelists that I'm helping to coordinate yesterday, and we were talking about how great it is that we have the quickness of having the virtual call, but that we're able to meet in person as well. It'll be a great 2 days worth of conversation for sure.
And I believe, Aaron, that there's a hotel nearby if people.
There is.
I'm going to come and stay for 2 nights, I think. So.
Great. Yeah. And actually, to that point, we just had a conversation internally this week about we don't have, like a relationship with any one hotel, but we're planning to send out some information, kind of like a know before you go, about hotel options, restaurant options right there in the Mesa area. There's a lot of really great local restaurants right there, very close. You're also right next to the Mesa Public Library, so you can go take a gander over there and check
Got to
out the
get
Think
that shot
Smart.
in, huh?
I mean, I'm always going to, you know me, Steve. But no, it really is a really nice little area. It's very walkable. There's a lot of really great opportunities, and since you'll be done early enough in the day where you can get together for dinner with your colleagues afterwards, we hope that people take advantage of that. So if you register for the event, you'll get that email from us shortly. I don't have an exact ETA on that, but if you do need to stay overnight, it'll have some information about some local hotels, and then also the local restaurants and things like that. So
Super.
and
Great.
I'll drop my email in the chat again too. If there's questions on any of this, I'm happy to get you to the right person. If I'm not the right person, of course. The summit really is, it's a partnership between the governor's office and ACA, and so some of those details, are kind of held by different groups. So I'll get you to the right people if I'm not the right person. But thank you so much for the opportunity. And again, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. But thank you, Steve.
Great. Thank you, Erin. Any questions for Erin? Well, again, we've been talking digital equity for a long, long time, and now it's exciting to see this funding coming through, and a lot of opportunity and collaboration. So I really encourage you all to try to attend our study session and also the summit. And again, you'll have all that information. Well, you should have had it already, but you'll get it again from me very shortly. Okay, anybody else from the broadband office that has anything they want to add? Going once, going twice. I haven't seen Nicole. Are you online now?
I believe
I'm
she's
here.
traveling today. Oh, she is here. Hi, Nicole. Sorry.
Nicole, you have anything that you want to share this morning?
Yeah, and I apologize. Yeah, I'm in transit today, so hope my audio is working all right.
It's fine.
I did just have one update about NTIA at the end of December
Excuse
issued
me,
an
Nicole, can you introduce yourself again, please?
Hi there. I'm Nicole Umayam. I'm the Federal Program Officer for Arizona with NTIA, the National Telecommunications and Information Administration. So I am supporting the BEAD and digital equity programs here in Arizona. Sorry, I hope that background noise isn't too loud. I wanted this group to be aware of a recent update that NTIA issued around the uniform guidance. So uniform guidance are really the federal program rules around any sorts of funding or federally funded projects, including BEAD. And after a public comment process, NTIA heard a lot of feedback about how stakeholders wanted some of that guidance to kind of reflect the guidance around the capital project funds broadband efforts. So a little bit less of the stringent requirements for typical federal programs that we'd see. So anyway, this is good news for providers. Some of the updates are that there's actually no program restriction around program income generated from subrecipients, whereas typically for a federal award, a subawardee or an awardee would be subject to certain guidelines. Those are now without restriction. States are also able to issue fixed amount subgrants in their broadband awards, if that makes sense for the state. So we see that as a win for some flexibility. Service providers or other awardees are also able to use that funding for network upgrades, which was some people would say was always the case in the guidance, but this makes it more explicitly authorized. So that if that's part of an application, it doesn't have to be approved by NTIA to do those network upgrades. And we also established a 10-year interest period for broadband infrastructure. So before NTIA didn't really have a hard date, and now we put that into writing here. So I'm going to send a link to a blog post that will also link to the official ruling and some more background information there.
Okay, any questions for Nicole? Okay, moving on. So actually, Nicole, I don't know if you want to address this or somebody else wants to talk more about it, but there is a bill in Congress that I guess is going to be discussed on January the 10th to extend ACP. And you can still submit your endorsements online. It's very simple. I'll put the link in again. It's very simple to just click on it and enter your information. It'll take you 5 minutes to support ACP. Anybody else, Nicole or anybody, Aaron, wants to comment on that? I take that to be a no.
Well,
Okay.
the
sorry.
FCC is, oh, sorry, the FCC is a different agency, so,
No.
oh yeah, I know that NTIA is publicly supportive of ACP, but that is the FCC's program, so we don't, NTIA doesn't participate in that outside of information purposes.
Sure. Well, I think we all feel that ACP is important and needs to be continued. And so again, we encourage you to take 5 minutes and I will, again, we'll put the link in my email for you to respond. Again, January the 8th is the deadline. So please do that ASAP. Okay, anything else about that? Okay, moving on. So ACA, you guys had a couple of positions that were open for senior broadband program manager and community engagement. Are those positions filled, still not quite filled yet? Or I know you've been interviewing, I believe.
Yeah, we're still kind of wrapping up that process. Due to the holidays, things just got a little bit longer than anticipated, but no further updates than what we provided before on that.
Okay, thank you. And Megan, I know you're online from the State Library. You had a position open. What's happening with that?
Good morning, I'm Megan Hammond. I'm the Library Development Administrator. We have been recruiting digital navigators and we have identified some finalists. So we're hoping to have them start on the 15th. And then we'll be posting very soon our digital inclusion library consultant position. And as soon as that's up, I will share the link with the group.
Sounds great. Thank you. Any questions for Megan? All righty. So again, you know that the plan has been released, the digital equity plan, and encourage you to check that out. Talked about the summit already, talked about the AZBSN virtual digital equity study session, and then the governor's interagency and community broadband advisory council working groups. Perla, do you want to talk about those just quickly? And there's meetings coming up on the 29th, 30th, and 31st. You've been kind of been the point, haven't you, for that besides Maggie? Are you there? Anybody else want to talk? So the governor's office had created a governor's interagency and community broadband advisory council working groups. Those groups are infrastructure and permitting, mapping, outreach, affordability, digital inclusion, and workforce. There have been, I believe, 2 meetings of those groups already, and then they're coming up again. And again, I included those in my email with the date and time and the links to be able to join the meeting. So you are more than welcome to participate in any of those meetings. Anybody have anything else they want to add about those meetings?
Just really quick, that the meetings this month will of course be focused on the digital equity plan as well. So another opportunity for folks to come and chat about that if they're interested.
Good. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, next thing, NDIA is on January the 9th, which is coming up next week, is going to be having a webinar on AI and digital equity, time for community conversation. It's a big issue that a lot of people are now talking about what are the implications of AI in regard to digital equity. So that webinar is again coming up on January the 9th. And again, I think I included in my email, and I will in my update. But I think that will, and I know Barney, I mentioned this to you a little bit earlier, but I think that will be particularly of interest to you. But it is an important issue, and so I encourage you all to participate in that. And with that, any questions or comments about that? If not, let's jump into our digital access resource highlight. And I'm pleased to introduce Tracy Cox Ortega, who is president owner of TNT Solutions, and she's also does her consulting, and Tony Chang, who's president and managing partner of Netstar Telecom Consultant and a partner with TNT. And so with that, I'm not going to say any more, Tracy. I'm going to turn it over to you. Do you need to share today?
Yeah, I would actually like to let Tony do a physical
Okay.
show as
I
well.
will stop sharing. And so Tony, welcome. I haven't talked with you. Tracy and I have had great communication. I got to say one thing. I had great conversation with Tracy, and the reason she's here today is that she blew me out of the water, frankly, with her background and her experience and the work she's doing. And so I just said, hey, she needs to be here. And particularly for the broadband office, you guys will be particularly interested in the mapping solution that they have. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tracy and or Tony, and it's all yours.
Sure. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Steve. Yeah, I'm glad you met Tracy. She's a pistol, and yeah. So thanks for the opportunity to share, and just to give you a kind of a quick, concise direction of kind of what we do, and then I'll show you some of the tools that we have. So what we do is, in simple terms, think of us as a Costco of technology. We basically are brokers and consultants that handle all the IT technology for businesses and multifamily, and then also development into large single family developments. So what we do is we have access to pretty much all of the telecom providers around the country, as well as international. Predominantly, of course, most of the businesses are the ones that are looking for, lots of bandwidth and all the different services but in your case, actually, congratulations on the funding of the broadband technology in Arizona. So we represent many different providers. So some companies and some state and local government love to be able to get all the quotes and everything else for all of the providers that are available, rather than maybe working individually. So there are always cases. So Tracy and I both come from working with different providers in our history. So it's nice to be on a neutral side, to able to help agencies like yours or businesses and help them save time, and money. Does that kind of make sense?
Sure.
Yeah. So I will share, and the tools, what it does is basically help us help the end user customers to be able to get access to all the services, make it a lot easier for us, and also a repository of all the information. So let me
So
share.
as he's bringing that up,
Yeah.
what I want to talk about is that I have lived in Arizona almost my entire life. And I lived in the White Mountains and Lakeside for over a decade. I owned a small business. I ran Wells Fargo Home Mortgage from there, ended up taking over the host state. So I'm really very familiar with some of the challenges that people face being in rural areas. I understand the T1s and not having the fiber capabilities, using Frontier in certain areas is the only availability that we see. And because of the unique ability that we have with this map to see where things are lit, we can see who the true carrier is. many carriers will say, hey, you know, I'm this great company and I'm giving you everything that you need, but they're really on the backbone white labeled under another company. Well, we can see this so that we really know who is that provider. How do we make sure that they can truly give that quality of service and not just say that they can, and then unfortunately we find out by somebody skinning their knees, so to speak. So this helps to give us some clarity. I handle technology, and that's what I love: cloud, backup, cybersecurity, all those things. And I partnered with Tony because he understands telecom with over 2 decades in the industry on that end. I'm over a decade on this end. And so this map tool we're going to use is called Pathfinder. And what that does is it goes in and it can be very geo-specific. Are we looking at a specific address? Because many times we are. Or are we looking at a area, a general area of a neighborhood? Or are we trying to figure out how are we going to get fiber there? Where's the closest fiber to that point? And what have we been told? And what does that look like from a construction standpoint, an expectation, a cost, all of that? And so this has been very, very instrumental, particularly for me with some of my clients that I've had to deal with. I have a lot of schools in rural areas, very rural areas, as well as I've dealt with small businesses. I had a Napa store one time that no matter what service they used, they could not properly connect because there was too much latency. So we had to use a satellite. So this really helps us to drill that down. So with that, I'd like to know if you guys, Tony can benefit feature this, but then give him an address. Give him something you're thinking of, an area that you think, hey, this has been a challenge, or this is one that I already know what's there, but I just want confirmation of that. Whatever that is, don't hesitate to give us an address once he benefit features this so you can see how it works live in our area. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, so this is the interconnection point here in Seattle, by the Westin building, Westin Hotel. That's where pretty much all the providers have all their sites, their colos and so on. So this is how we look at what fiber routes and who it belongs to and who might be there. So we have addresses and shows, you know, who's all there. Anybody has an address?
I have an address.
Yeah, go ahead.
70 Commercial Street, St. John's, Arizona.
Know St. John's very well. Lakeside.
Uh-huh. That's the city hall.
Commercial Street.
St.
John's.
And it may be SA. There it is. Okay, sometimes it's spelled out.
Okay. It would help if I get some good internet connection here in California. So here we go. We've got Frontier Communications. That is on net. Is that what you guys use currently?
Yeah.
Yeah, so here we go. So that's the location right here. And then we have some near net. Let's see. So this is 10. Let's see, where's 70?
So in most cases, Tony, when we're talking about that part of northeastern Arizona, Frontier is the primary lack.
Yeah.
And part of the issue that I have experienced when I was working with the Apache, Navajo and Apache, the telecom broadband with Paul Watson's team, was that people were coming in and saying that they weren't part of Frontier, but they really were. So the only thing they were actually controlling was a representation of the last mile. But the perception they gave was that they were more in control of that. And so it's really about what capability do we have. So I'm not surprised to see Frontier as the dominant one.
So this is a great question. Go ahead.
So I don't know if you get try wireless.
I'm sorry.
Rory, you're breaking up.
Okay.
Thank you for chiming in, Roy. I was going to ask if you were on the call because I know you have some service up there.
Okay, my apologies. Is that better?
There
That's
we
better.
go.
Sorry about that. Computers change defaults on you all the time. We have 300 megabit per service across that whole town. In fact, we had 2 guys up there yesterday upgrading, adding more equipment on a tower. So I don't understand what this, I'm not familiar with this program, but and I'm not sure where the data source is, but we're definitely in that town with some significant resources.
Mhm.
Say
So-
that again. Are you with a different company or?
I'm with Triad Wireless.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So
Triad-
That's what I was gonna say,
Are you
Rory,
on
is that
wireless?
when you're talking about other resources, we have those as well when we're looking from a cellular satellite. This is more of the terrestrial right here that he's showing, which is more in,
Understood, but we were part of a project last year with Final Mile Broadband, and we
Okay.
brought in 300 megabit per second service across St. John's as part of that program.
Yeah,
And so it's wireless technology.
yeah. Is that fixed wireless, right?
It is fixed wireless.
Oh, great. Yeah. So we put some of that fixed wireless up here. So love to have your information and put it onto this platform.
Okay, Katrina's on this call. I'm gonna have her reach out to you and get
Sure.
our company information.
Yeah, and I think Rory's question is, where is this data being pulled from? So, where is it being sourced? So when companies like Triad aren't showing up on this, how do they get their information shared?
Yeah. So there are multiple sources, and some of it is the brick and mortar sources, where as we, for fixed wireless, there are of course plethora of fixed wireless companies that are in certain cities only, right? So we need to gather those through industry verticals, associations, and so on, so that we can get those information. And if people, know about us and then forward the information to us, we'll add to it, right? So it's you have the ones that are the largest one, of course, the LECs, and then you get into the CLECs and so on. So those are, of course, a lot easier to gather. And then when we get to individual ones, then it would be more of a manual way of adding.
yeah, so Rory, what it really is all of the companies that have some type of national recognition ensure that we have that information so that we're better at representing them with their client, with potential clients, as well as existing. And then with others, they notify us because they may be just in a specific area. So it's working in tandem with different providers, like Tony was saying, as well as having the FCC information, and then drilling down and being able to see the capability of what's available. So by taking your information, then we can have that added to the map. But when we have it added to that, it is shared equally with those that we also share this capability with. So now your level of visibility wouldn't just be to Tony and I when we're using this map, but it should be in anyone utilizing the Pathfinder system itself to be able to see your services and capabilities once they're aware of it and they can verify the circuit. Make sense?
Yeah, except that all this information's on the FCC's, we file this
I
information.
mean, that's really interesting because we pulled up the FCC at myself and another partner that I work with, Thomas, and we did not see anything there either when we looked at that after Steve had asked me, what does this look like compared to the FCC map? And I literally was like, I don't know, let's take a look and find out. So I looked and that was about 2 weeks ago, and I do not recall that. So I'm gonna double check that, but who knows if they just color code it or make it accessible, I don't know.
We're right now is not a Redfin or Zillow. It would be great to get to that point where we will be a Redfin or Zillow of technology, right? Where we can gather all of that data from all the transactions of the real estate and so on. So, so that's where we want to get to. Yeah.
Okay, I'm having our team look this up because
Yeah.
because now I'm concerned that we're in many other cities, and I know we do our filings, I know we get we review it, but I'm fascinated how this didn't pop up. So
I am as well. And that was about 2 weeks ago. So I can't imagine that there'd be any type, but verify that, make sure. And then what we'll do also is we'll go back on our end, but
I'm
sure.
99% sure that it's listed. So that's
Yeah.
why that's strange.
Well, I was
Okay.
looking at the map as far as the pretty picture. I wasn't reading. I was a visual learner.
Yeah, so we'll work on that, right?
Yeah.
So these are the provider portfolio. These are just some of the one that we posted. So these are contact center providers, and then cloud providers, co-location, connectivity. So we generally have international providers as well, Singtel, and so on. So UCaaS will be your hosted voice over IP. So these are all resources for us to go to help companies and organizations. We do a lot of nonprofits as well. Over here in Seattle, our customers, city of Marysville and city of Black Diamond. So these are some of the portfolios that we have access to, and could continually add those.
And then in the Arizona market, I've worked with the Ronald McDonald House, the Diocese of Phoenix. I am right now a virtual IT director for the Heard Museum. I help them with their initiatives. We had an interesting situation with Dell, and I was able to get them a $30,000 credit by, as people say, I'm a nice pit bull and I had to bare my teeth. But, we're here to help represent whatever we can to help. But when we're looking at the telecom and what you guys have going on, at the end of the day, if we could go back to the map, Tony, the main thing is about that map and the capability. We're going to look into what Rory's talking about. But, when you're looking at the carriers that we do have in our portfolio, we can see what that representation is. Many times when we're talking about rural Arizona, to Rory's point, it needs to be more of a wireless than just the terrestrial of something like the Frontiers, not to pick on them, but they are dominant up in the North Arizona area and other rural areas. So it's about how do we give them that connectivity? How do we give them that capability? How do we ensure that uptime? And then ensuring that they understand the safeties that they need to have when that becomes available to them as well, as Steve as I talked about. So there's a lot involved. But with this map, we can at least get in there.
Question, if I may. Mark Goldstein. Is this map publicly available? I've gone to the URL, requires a sign in, doesn't have a create account option, or does one have to be working with you and through you to see this map?
That's correct. Yeah, this is not for the public at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Is it a like subscription based, like some of the other?
There are some.
I don't.
Go ahead.
I have this.
Eric, please mute.
So this map is through, as he says, we're the Costco. Of course, we go somewhere else to be able to get all of these services, because we go in and find them for you and find out who the right partner is. So one of the companies we work with is called Avant. And Avant also has an office here. It used to be an Arizona grown company called Planet One, and they sold off to Avant, who's now Chicago headquarter, and they're here. This is something that Tony's company actually helped to develop. Then they put it on steroids, created it further, and now it is what it is. And unless you are one of their agent partners, which is what Tony and I are, then you don't really have access to this, because this is considered the wholesale side. So I don't know of a map like this that's publicly available. But to Mark's question, is it available to us, through us? Yes, but Mark, we don't charge you for that. We don't have a problem with you saying, hey, what about this? What about that? We're here to help. So we do not have residential capability with this, but we do have business capability with this. So don't let your curiosity stop you from asking questions or having me put in some addresses, whatever we can do to be of help. That's really why we're here. Tony, I'd like for you to put in a different address so it's more related to us here in Arizona. I'm gonna have you do the Hyatt downtown, which is 150 West Adams Street, Phoenix, 85003. It's Adams with an S. There you are. That way it's a little bit more live and visible. And then with the digital inclusion that we're all having top of mind, I may be a guest speaker in June at the RSA Cybersecurity Conference, and my whole entire presentation is about digital inclusion. And when I think digital inclusion, I'm thinking about people that need to be able to have the capability of utilizing the internet and having good cybersecurity practices, whether they're visually impaired, hearing impaired. But from being a part of your guys' organization, I'm realizing they're also talking about bridging that gap between rural and non-rural areas and empowering schools for education and people for all the things they need to do and making resources more available. So I really think that as we move forward through the next few years, that digital inclusion of allowing people the capability is really going to grow, especially with companies like Rory's being up there locally, us being able to have the ability to facilitate knowledge, education, representation, and help in that is a really good benefit to the community, which is why we're here today. But really quickly, I just want him to show you something that's more relevant to us in the Phoenix market. And then if you have any questions, we can go from there.
Roy, is yours Triad wireless? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Sorry, yes.
There you are, Triad wireless.
Mm-hmm.
So we just gotta update your other area, the other areas that you serve.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
We just need to update the areas that you serve. So this one here shows up, right? Your fixed wireless.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have a lot of towns that we're actually in. In fact, we're adding 3 more towns right now.
We're advertising for you for free here, right?
I think that's wonderful. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure people knew they had an option, and we're adding a lot of users out there. So
you got it.
No, and I appreciate that because I'd like to visit with you afterwards because it's important we represent people with what's available and local.
We have Vaughn has his hand up. Vaughn, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, Steve, thank you very much. Say, I just kind of wonder about the longevity and the reliability of the wireless, because I'm being told, and that's why you experts are here to help me understand that it's coming off the cell phone towers in some manner. But I'm also glad to see that we're doing it, or you're doing it, because the rural areas I'm always concerned about are going to then be much easier to make connections. So what do you see as the longevity and the future continuation of the wireless internet off of the cell towers, if that's how it works?
I'd like to let Rory, because he has the direct experience. I know I have positive feelings and thoughts, but I'd like to just give him a moment to share because he is helping to develop that in the area.
Amen.
we've been in business 20 years, so I think it's pretty stable. The technology is extremely advanced. We have technologies that have come to market that have been in development for 12 years. That's actually what's in St. John's. I don't see any issues with it. I think in this case, we're not on cell towers. We actually built 3 towers out in St. John's area for the project. But it's as stable as any over the fiber that's pulled over telephone poles. And in some cases, I know we're at 4.9 reliability on most of the network now, and we're actually trying to improve that even further. So.
Well, that's good news. I'll just make one more short statement. I currently went to wireless internet through a local national provider because I only had CenturyLink by hard phone wire coming to my house at the area where I live in the Tucson area, way out on the edge, way out in the edge in the county area. So I'm having good luck with it, but my son was kind of giving me some thoughts. That's why I asked that question. I'm glad you're there to answer that. Thank you.
Vaughn, we have assets in Tucson. Just send me your address. Let me take a look at it because
I'll
we're
put
all the
it-
way down to Nogales.
I'll put it in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Thank
we
you.
can do that for you as well, Vaughn, just to see what it shows as another address example. But to Rory's point, there are a lot of the different organizations like Cox, now CenturyLink is actually Lumen, that are looking at expanding the fiber from a terrestrial standpoint, but also utilizing the towers as well as the cell towers. We have a lot of innovative products. I don't know how many of you have heard about SD-WAN that creates a redundancy situation so that if one goes down, the other one automatically picks up so you maintain that connectivity. There's a lot of different ways that we can help depending on what your critical needs are from a telecom standpoint. I had a doctor that was out in rural and he needed to be able to get 911 calls. So we put in this SD-WAN capability using the landline terrestrial as well as a wireless carrier so that he would have no point of failure if someone was to call in and need his attention. So there's just different ways that we can combine services and help you to get that reliability, or if you know people that need that. So does anyone else have any other questions about the map or how we can be of assistance, or any questions of clarity on any of that? Okay, so I'm here. You can ask me questions. Like I said, I went to Nevitt and Hohokam Elementaries. I went to Gilliland Junior High, Corona del Sol, MCC. So I've been all over, and then I've lived in Lakeside. So I really care about what we can do to help our communities as a whole.
I
Consulting.
had funded projects over at Tracy over at Hohokam Middle School when I was in TUSD. I retired
yeah?
out there in 2000. So I'm not trying to get your history across the table here, but I know very clearly what what you're talking about there.
Yeah, I got out of school in '85. Got my little old lady eyes on and going, but yeah. So this was, I remember when Scottsdale Road was dirt. But anyhow, I just want you to know that we do not charge to ask questions. We don't charge for any of this. How we get paid is just like an insurance agent. The carriers give us a small percentage, and we get paid from that. So there isn't a charge, but we do want to see what we can do to help. We do more than just the telecom. I'm here to help you with anything that you have any questions on, whether it's cloud, disaster recovery, backup, cybersecurity. I have a thing that I put together for a college about cyber defenders, and it's for their employees to understand basics about cybersecurity. I'm going to share that with Steve so that if you guys would like to Frankenstein that and push that out for free, it just talks about what phishing is, what's malware, how do you avoid it, and it gives it to them in simple and easy to understand chunks. It's about 8 slides, I think, because we don't want death by PowerPoint, but I just want you to know we're here to be of service, and we appreciate the opportunity to showcase how many different organizations we have within our portfolio. I'm excited about talking with Rory because I would really like to talk to him about what he does. Let's get him on that map. And I appreciate everybody's time and attention. And I look forward to continuing being a part of this group.
Thank you.
Tracy, this is Mark Haley. I have one quick question for you on your map. What kind of collaboration outside the major carriers are you guys facilitating to ensure that you have better coverage and better accuracy of the data being represented?
The truth is, we run across people like Rory, and then we have to update it through that map system. And then I make a note within my internal matrices and my CRM. But as far as anything beyond that, there just isn't anything that I'm aware of, because I have a national footprint and I work with the Catholic diocese across the country. And I run into small organizations or growing organizations that are representing the fixed wireless that no one's really aware of but the local community. So I run into them, or I see it visible on the map, or word of mouth, and then I research it. But we do like to research it and get to know the local people, because I think it's good to empower local businesses when possible and utilize the large national footprint for security and peace of mind security, not technical security, but they say that too. But does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. But the question I have also, as you run across these pieces, what process or procedures in place to go back and make sure that the data you had previously is updated and accurate?
Well, the
Yeah.
information that we get, let's just say, for example, from Rory, is we'll have a conversation with him. He's able to provide the documentation that he would need, obviously, to show that it's true and viable. And then we go to the people that now own the Pathfinder tool and ask them to incorporate that in. Now, what that process looks like, I have absolutely no idea. For me personally, whether or not they put that in that map, I now know about Rory. I will be talking to him about where his areas of coverage are. And when I'm talking to a client and what their needs are, I will know what areas of coverage he has, and I will know that he's someone there that's able to service them over and above potentially what I see just on that map.
Mark, so this is really a reference, a reference tool where we sort of know who are there, and this is not the Bible where this is what it is. So it's a good question to make sure that that's there. One of our customers is Regis Business Centers that has now 1,400 locations up in Canada and in the U.S. and every location that they go to, it used to be the main business cities like, Chicago and San Francisco, LA, Seattle, and so on. So now they're going into the tier 2 and tier 3, locations. And so it's important for us to know very quickly who are the LECs and the CLECs. They will not use fixed wireless, which is that they should consider it, because fixed wireless used to have a different connotation for people, right? But now it's so solid. I mean, it's fantastic. I recommend that as a separate option because it's not wireline to the building. And so the bottom line here is that it's a good reference point. And then we then go to the different providers that are, highlighted here. And then we have other sources to basically go and find out what other fixed wireless providers are there. And then there are always local fiber providers, like in Wenatchee, Washington, for example. They're not listed in here because they're just one little pocket where the PUD provides the fiber, and then a company then takes that fiber and extend it to that building. So in a little town of Wenatchee, there's a CLEC that provides that fiber, right? So for example, in Boise, Idaho, there's Syringa. Syringa has a pretty good size area, but they don't really propagate it that much. And so now they're on the map, and they're a lot more public now. So then it comes to some personal knowledge as well. Does that make sense, Mark?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
The only thing I want to add to that, because as he's saying that, I'm of course thinking I have family that's all over northern Arizona, all the way to Tucson, from body shop owners to accountants. So they have different business needs. But like Nick Steva's in our backyard, but yet they're not really the best one for a lot of our rural communities based on the way in which they deliver some of their services. Some they are. So this does help us to see that and to understand that. But also too, it's about knowing my territory, Mark, honestly, living in Arizona, understanding it and doing due diligence for our communities. So it's one of those that if I don't know about it, I don't know about it, but I do my best to know what I can, vet the information, and make sure that what I'm conveying is transparent, and I say it with integrity. And beyond that, we're here to work together, right?
Absolutely. Appreciate the transparency.
Yeah, I think that's important.
So Tracy and Tony, we need to kind of wrap up because we have things to discuss. So we appreciate your presentation. Any final thoughts?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. And again, I'm very easy to reach. I own T&T Solutions. I've been an Arizona-owned company for 5 years now. I've won national awards. And one of them was a top digital docent during COVID to help businesses go from being in-house to going to the home communities and all that fun stuff. So I have a passion for helping. Don't be afraid to reach out. Thank you for your time, and it was nice meeting everybody.
And Tony, can you stop sharing, please?
I'm a sales guy, so I'm trying to figure out how to stop sharing here. Let's see here. Okay.
It's down in your screen options towards the bottom. There's a icon that should say share screen.
Yeah, when I shared, it got smaller. Let's see.
Tony, I think I can do this. So
You can do it? Okay, Steve.
yep, there you go.
Thank you. You got it?
Yep.
Okay. Thank
It
you.
should have stopped. So let me try this. Oh, there we go. Got my screen
There.
up.
Okay.
So playfully, I'm just going to tease him and say that's why I'm the IT girl and he's the telecom.
Okay. So a couple other quick things this morning. I don't think Mama's online. Holly, are you still there? And Megan, you guys have anything more that you want to talk about with the library?
I don't have anything additional, Steve, and Mala's still on annual leave.
Okay. Megan, do you have anything else?
Aside from our hiring updates, I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Okay. And Karina, are you still online? Do you have anything with the Department of Ed? I take that to be a no. Cindy Hogan, do you have anything with the Digital Inclusion Network? Cindy, are you there? Cindy, not there. Okay. Rory, you have anything else to talk about with, looks like we might be having some Zoom issues today.
No, the final mile stuff is completed and we're just waiting for ASU's or Sun Corridor to work with us on the next step of that project. So.
Okay. Okay, any other announcements, anything else that people want to share? We will do our kibitzing. If anybody wants to stay online, I'm going to stop the recording and
Steve, Mark here.
Yeah, Mark.
ATIC, Arizona Telecom and Information Council, first board meeting of the year, be next Wednesday. Notices going out this weekend for the specifics.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you all. And we'll see you next week. And again, encourage you to attend the summit and also our study session on the 18th.